26 was a day of silence when many webcasters went quiet as a protest against the new royalty rates. With July 15 approaching, are webcaster and copyright owners meeting to try to develop a marketplace solution to this issue?
We specifically have not been meeting, but I do know that and Sound Exchange has not specifically contacted us directly. It seems like thus far most of the negotiation has been through press releases and kind of in a public light. But no, we specifically are not meeting with Sound Exchange.
Well, July 15 is around the corner, and I hope that the same way that you did back in 2002, that the two parties on this issue come together and find a compromise, a solution to this issue. I really don't think that Congress should be the best vehicle to resolve this type of issue. In any case, I would like to ask Mr. Silverman, do you believe it will be fair to set different royalty rates for small independent webcasters than for large diversified media companies?
It would be fair.
Do you have any recommendations about how the size of the internet radio provider should be measured? Should it be based on the number of employees, listeners, or on an annual revenue?
Maybe a combination of the reach, which means the amount of listeners and the amount of time spent listening, and the revenue. But there already is, I believe, Sound Exchange has already put a compromise on the table and made some suggestions. I'm not sure exactly what those are as to what your last question was, so I think they are actively trying to pursue a solution.
Mr. Lee, AFM has represented musicians for more than 100 years. According to your members, is it more challenging now than it was 10 years ago to earn a living as a full-time musician?
Yes, ma'am, it absolutely is. It's very difficult to earn a living. If I were starting out today, I don't know how I could encourage my children or anybody else's children to look to make a living in music. But I would like to...
Yes?
Yes, I'd just like to speak a bit to your previous question, if that's in order.
Sure.
We recognize the difficulty that small webcasters and National Public Radio may have with this decision. We did support the webcasters when they chose to encourage a CRB, and we absolutely support the fact that they had access to, that is, the CRB had access to a myriad of financial information. We also recognize that 95% of the income is going to come from the big broadcasters, not the small webcasters. And to the extent that the small webcasters play our members' music and play some of our independents, we encourage that. And we are actively working to resolve those differences between our members. And I can tell you that any independent musician has the right to allow their music to be played for free on any webcasting station. We're just saying, don't give away everybody else's right to be compensated when that happens.
Mr. Alcon, thank you. How will the CRB ruling affect webcasters' ability to provide content that is appealing to listeners who have taste in music that is out of the mainstream?
Well, for artists like myself who are independent, we don't have the support of major labels or, major radio stations, Clear Channel, be it whatever. To us, it's very important that our music be on these stations like Last FM, Pandora, Yahoo, AOL, et cetera, because it reaches such a broad audience. And if these royalties are implemented, these companies are gone. That avenue for people like me to have my music out there is non-existent. And it goes back in the days of, calling radio stations and peddling it, which in my case is pointless because they won't play it anyway. It doesn't fit their format.
Mr. Miller, Sound Exchange has extended an offer to webcasters with annual revenue under $1.2 million. The offer would allow small webcasters to pay reduced royalty rates until 2010. Assuming your company is eligible, does WOXY.com plan to accept the offer from Sound Exchange, and if not, why?
We currently would not qualify. As we were acquired by a larger company, we would not qualify for that small webcaster rate. With that said, the issue is that we would be in this exact same situation 4 years from now. When a new royalty panel would come around and it would set rates, and then we would have to make another small webcaster provision. So that's a really uncertain it's a really uncertain realm to operate a business, knowing that that's going to come around every 4 years. But I think the problem really is with the way that the CRB actually, the dictum that they were given to set the rates.
So let me ask you, do you believe that a proposal containing a higher revenue cap is likely to be a more compelling offer for small independent webcasters?
It could be. Really, what you have to look at isn't necessarily the cap, but what the chasm would be to jump from the small webcaster provision into paying the full statutory rates. And obviously, 1.2 million I think is quite low. 6 million may be workable, but really, that's the most difficult piece of that.
Thank you. And now I recognize Mr. Chabot.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And first of all, I have to say that this has been a very good panel. I think all the members of this panel have represented their point of view very well, and obviously there's a variety of opinions here, but I think they've all done a very good job at it and helped us in trying to decide what is the appropriate action for us to take or not take. My first question, if I could ask the two artists that are here, Mr. Alcorn and Ms. Fink, if you could, is there, what we're also attempting to determine is if there is any common ground here relative to the royalty board's decision, short of Congress stepping in and doing something. And again, as I mentioned in my opening statement, our preference would be that the parties come together and do what they think is best without the government necessarily stepping in and oftentimes messing things up even more than they already are. So is there any, being the two artists, is there any common ground that you're aware of? Do you see any logical resolution or solution to the dilemma that we find ourselves in right now?
Well, I think the common ground between the artists, if you'll agree with me, is that Internet radio is a viable promotional tool for people like us. And as far as an actual agreement, that will come between Sound Exchange and the broadcasters. I'm speaking to the committee as an artist, and as an artist, I'm here to tell you that it is an important tool for me, for my business, my small publishing company, and my touring and everything else I do, for my music to be heard. And if these royalties are implemented, that is gone. That is taken away. I want to get royalty payments. I enjoy getting royalty payments. I depend on them just as every other artist here does. But is it worth shutting down the whole industry to get that money when there's many other avenues? We make money performing, selling records, et cetera, but is it really worth attacking these webcasters and putting them out of business with these extreme royalty rates for that cut? Is the promotion value worth more than the royalties? In my case, I say yes, because I'm not a mainstream artist. And it is more important for me to have my music heard because I perform for the love of the music. I love Hank Williams. I love Johnny Cash. I am trying to keep that music alive, where broadcast radio has no interest in keeping that music going.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Fink.